So one of the 2022 races that we're following more and more closely is that of the Texas gubernatorial race. We believe that Beto O'Rourke is going to be entering as a Democratic challenger against the incumbent Republican Governor Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott has been an absolute disaster for the state of Texas. He has been disgusting, along with his Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, since day one of the pandemic. The infamous grandma's willing to die for the economy incident, of course, as you might remember. Greg Abbott has been absolutely horrible on energy. Texas, of course, with this big boy libertarian independent energy grid, which has failed them in the winter and it's failed them in the summer. And it's just a disaster for Texas. And then now, of course, recently with Texas seeing COVID run rampant during the Delta spike. This has fortunately really hurt the approval ratings of Greg Abbott, and we have additional new data about this. More Texas voters now believe that Greg Abbott does not deserve re-election, and of course they are completely correct. More Texas voters believe Greg Abbott does not deserve to be reelected, according to a poll released yesterday, Tuesday. The survey was conducted by Quinnipiac University, finds that 51% of registered voters in Texas believe Abbott doesn't deserve re-election, compared with 42% who say he does deserve a third term. These are disastrous numbers for an incumbent Republican Texas governor, and I love it. The opposition to Abbott's re-election is up from June. A different Quinnipiac poll in June found 46% said re-elect and 48% said no. Now it's only 42% say re-elect, 51% say no, basically like a 4-point slide in the direction of bad, I should say, from the standpoint of negative. The most recent poll also found only 44% of Texans approve of the way Abbott is handling his job as governor. 47% now disapprove. This is the first time since Quinnipiac started polling Texas that Abbott's approval rating is below disapproval, referred to as being underwater. This is absolutely fantastic. Now, most Republicans still support Abbott. 83% of Republicans approve, only 12% disapprove. As far as independents go, 43% approve, only 6% of Democrats approve in Texas. Now, just as an example, okay, of how absolutely horrible this guy is, this was over the weekend on Fox News, Chris Wallace really grilling Greg Abbott over his claim that, listen, we don't have to worry about the abortion law, the dystopian abortion law that we passed, restricting the ability of women who have been raped from obtaining abortions. We don't have to worry about that because we're going to eliminate rapists. Ban the virus, right? I mean, just make murder illegal, solve the problem. Okay, let's listen.
Is it reasonable to say to somebody who was the victim of rape and might not understand that they are pregnant, until 6 weeks, well, don't worry about it because we're going to eliminate rape as a problem in the state of Texas?
It doesn't make sense, no, but let's see what he says.
Well, there's multiple things I have to say in answer to this, but the first thing, obviously, is that survivors of sexual assault, they deserve support, care, and compassion.
Now, it's funny how he says obviously. Much of the Republican Party doesn't make it obvious, actually.
And Texas is stepping up to make sure that we provide that by signing a law and creating in the governor's office a sexual assault survivors task force. But separately from that, Chris, I got to point out about the ways that I have fought to to arrest and apprehend and try to eliminate rape. I sought the death penalty.
But Governor, excuse me, because we are running out of time. There were more than 15,000 rapes in 2019 when you were governor.
Yeah, apparently just, ending rape by threatening people with really strict punishments. He wanted the death penalty for rapists. We really continue to lack evidence that the death penalty is really a deterrent. We've studied that for a very, very long time. But we're going to eliminate rape is kind of like ban coronavirus and just be done with it. It doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, meanwhile, the latest is Texas has this disaster with COVID. Texas has this disaster with energy. And what is Abbott doing? Abbott is launching voter fraud audits from the 2020 election, bowing to Trump's pressure. Vanity Fair reporting. Greg Abbott is suddenly bending over backward to find 2020 election fraud. Abbott's office says it has been reviewing votes in certain Texas counties for months, but others say the mad dash only started after Donald Trump demanded an audit. Greg Abbott is going to be pushing for auditing multiple county, auditing, recounting, who even knows what these things mean at this point in time. 4 counties in Texas. Trump won Texas. There is no point. We talked about this on the bonus show yesterday. There is no point to do this whatsoever. Texas is so poorly served. Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, remember the Cancun cruise fiasco. It would bring me no greater pleasure than to see Greg Abbott just absolutely crushed in 2022. And Beto O'Rourke could be the guy to do it. I don't know. I mean, coming off of a loss doesn't put you in a particularly strong position. Last week, one of our live callers asked, is Beto really the right guy to face off against Abbott, given that he lost his last race? I don't know the answer to that. But we have time. Listen, Matthew McConaughey, depending on your preference, Beto O'Rourke, whatever pronunciations you have for these folks, they would all be better than Greg Abbott for sure. And we're going to follow this race very, very closely. One of our sponsors is Magic Spoon breakfast cereal, sweet and tasty like the cereals I loved as a kid, but without the sugar or the carbs. Every serving of Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar, only 4 net carbs, 140 calories, and packed with 13 grams of protein. Perfect if you're doing keto, perfect if you're doing low carb. Great if you're just trying to reduce your excess sugar intake, and because it's packed with protein, it's great before or after a workout. Magic Spoon flavors include cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, and cinnamon. They're bringing back cookies and cream. They're bringing back maple waffle. You can build your own variety box and try them all. Magic Spoon is so confident in the product, if you don't love it as much as I do, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Go to magicspoon.com/Pacman. The link is underneath this video, and you'll get $5 off when you use the promo code Pacman at checkout.